What is happening, y'all? What is happening? What's happening? I'm your working gamer, and we are here talking about Steelrising. Gonna do a little bit different. Hope everybody's having a good day. But with that being said, let's hop into it. We're gonna do our review and our build in one video. So with that being said, we're just gonna start off with our attributes. We were a bodyguard build. So we were super unga bunga. So that means we focused on power for strength, durability for health, vigor for endurance, and engineering for defense. Now, power, we hit 20 on our original game, the main game, with the DLC included in the main game, and 20 is the max level, we learned. So now now that we're in New Game Plus, excuse me, we are able to upgrade to level 21. So as you can see here, we start off at level, I don't know what level we start, but we ended up at level 53 by the end of the main game plus the DLC. Not too bad. Because we were able to take all of our runes or souls or, lacrima or ergo, what have you, use them, and then we would sell smithing stones or smithing items, upgrade mats, things of that nature, just to be able to upgrade our stats even more, because we stuck with the same weapon the whole time. So we ended up at 20 for power, 11 for durability, 13 for vigor, and 8 for defense. Now, that got increased because you have these modules here, which I think are really great. They act as charms or pendants. So longevity, right? Grade 2 and grade 3. The higher the grade, the better. So we increased our health with these two. We increased our armor or defense with this, and we also increased our endurance with this, grade 3. So I really, again, go super straightforward build. Nothing too crazy. Again, focused on powering up our strength, focusing on increasing our defense, increasing our health, and increasing our endurance. The same things I always focus on every time I play a game. And we bonked our way through this game. I mean, we were annihilating bosses in like 6-7 shots with full heavy attacks. Just absolutely destroyed. I mean, the levels were harder than the bosses, for sure. 110%. So those are the stats that, we focused on. These are the modules that we used and got us through the game without problem. Now, when it came to inventory or equipment, I pretty much sold everything. Once we got our body of work, which is the bodyguard, which is the style build that we chose. This is the weapon that you start with, pretty much like a big hammer. And you get some other heavy weapons along the way, but we focused on this one. We got to max level, and we use it the whole game without issue. And it is awesome. And so in turn, what we did was we sold our other items and our other equipment and things of that nature to pretty much increase as much stats as we possibly could. So again, when it came to our weapon, that's what we focused on. And when it comes to our equipment or armor, again, we focused on anything that just increased our armor slash defense. Anything that rose that armor slash... I wasn't worried about resistance too much. I mean, because we were just bonking things. The game is really not too difficult in nature where you're going to have to focus on like, oh, I need flame resistance. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. I think if you were a dex build or an elemental build, maybe because you're not doing as much damage, but we were taking things out in a handful of shots, if not less. So that's what we focused on for equipment. Inventory, again, you have your health buffs and things of that nature. You get a few grenades, flame grenades, frost grenades, petrification grenades that pretty much paralyze your enemy. But when it comes to like weapon enhancement, like with electricity and stuff like that, didn't use none of that, didn't get any of it. So I don't know if like I just misread the game and have no idea where it is, but this is really it. You get a few bombs pretty much to throw, whether it be frost, electric, fire, immobilization or paralysis or, petrification. And that's really it, so we went over our stats, we went over our build, our slots. You do get other slots, when it comes to... This is pretty much like the build section of this video, right? So when it comes to slots, you do get a bunch of other things. I mean, I sold them all. You start off the game with this, but you get other things that increase your flame damage or your frost damage if you have a certain weapon that does like fire and ice damage, because you do get weapons like that. If you get something that does like increased flame and frost resistance, if you're struggling with a certain boss that does that type of damage. So, you do get a lot of certain things that can affect other stats as you do in any game. But honestly, straightforward build, no problems. And that was it. It's a very straightforward game, and I really appreciate that. Nothing too crazy, no skill tree or anything like that. You get skills throughout the game. You know, like your little jump through the air. Oh, we don't have it anymore. Wow, so New Game Plus, they take it away. That's interesting. That's okay. But with that being said, you know, we went over our builds and our stats and our equipment and things of that nature. Again, it's a very straightforward game, and I appreciate the basicness to it. That's not a knock, right? I definitely think that the combat is fun. So now getting into a little bit of like the actual review here, that we just went over our quick build because, you know, wasn't too hefty. As you can see, I'm bonking things, but we're in New Game Plus. Look, here's my full heavy. Oh, we missed. Here's my block. Each weapon comes with a different special, so I will say that's pretty cool. So the hammer comes with the shield, and I really appreciate that because you could block boss attacks and stuff too. But when it comes to the combat, I will say it is a little quirky at first, but you get used to it pretty quick. That was the heavy attack, and look, I'll show you some quick attacks. Right, so like we can kind of creep up, do a swift R1, and you still do some damage. Here's a whole sequence, and then over the top. Not too bad for a heavy weapon. Definitely get plenty of helds, you know, and so plenty of things to use. But the combat is pretty solid. Combat is solid. My issue isn't with the combat. My issue isn't with the enemies or how easy the boss fights were. My issue, I guess, is definitely not with the story. My main issue with this game is that each area, because you're going through Paris, each area outside of this area feels very much the same. All the towns and cities and etc., because that's what you're going through. You're running through different towns, different cities. So some look nice, some look destroyed, some look on fire, some have like a dark electric-y type of feel to it. And they do their best to, you know, switch it up and make it look different. But it has the overall same vibe, and, you know, you have to anticipate that coming into this game because, see, there's our grade 1 health module. You have to anticipate that coming into this game because you're going through towns and cities. You have to know you're playing through Paris, right? Where are you? So here's our heavy attack. Oh. Look at that, I just took out half his health. This is what I'm saying, like, all the boss fights were kind of like this in nature, where you can get off, if you can get off like one solid heavy attack, you knocked down some bosses, majority of bosses actually, for that matter. Module key, you know, unlocks to upgrade your module slots to get the grade 2 or grade 3. But again, my main issue, I mean, a lot of the areas are really nice, really clean, really beautiful. The music is great. But again, my main issue isn't with the combat, isn't with the story, isn't with, you know, the stats. They're very straightforward. Isn't with the module slots. You get plenty of them. You get 4. Isn't with the weapon choices. You get a bunch throughout the game that you can use. Isn't with the helds. You can find different things for helds throughout the game. My main issue, again, is I just felt like it was very straightforward, very basic. I appreciate that, and it's a good, fun, easy game to play. But I felt that the environments were too similar in nature. Everything kind of looked the same. Enemies were different. You know, did a good job with the enemies and things of that nature, turning some bosses into enemies. But after this St. Cloud area, a lot of the areas weren't woodsy. They were all towns and cities, again, like I mentioned. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I just want to, you know, be clear about what my only, I guess, qualm is with the game, and that's the areas, and it is what it is. You know, you have to go through the missions, the side missions, to read the story and everything. And so that kind of got a little frustrating because you're going through the same area twice without it really being changed up or anything like that. It's just the same area, it looks the same, you're running through the same thing. Sure, you unlock maybe a new portion of that area at some point in the side mission when you go back to it a second time, but outside of that, it really is pretty much the same area, and I don't know, they didn't even mirror image it, you know? So I just really think that if you want a good, fun, straightforward game, this is your game. I think I give it like a solid 7, 7.5 out of 10. Definitely a fun game. And, you know, it is what it is, I guess, right? It's straightforward, it's fun. It's way more basic than like your other Souls-like games. Doesn't come anywhere close to like Neo 2 or Wolong or Wu Chang or Liza P. You know, so those games are all way better than this game. But this is a good, different game with a good story. You know, it is different, right, with a good story. So I will give it that. I will give it that. And that's why I definitely suggest playing this game, because it is different with a good story and solid combat, as basic as it is and as repetitive as some of the levels and areas are. It's worth it, especially for the price on the PlayStation Store. It was like 10 bucks. With the DLC, it was like 20 bucks. So definitely a good change of pace. Definitely a game I suggest going and get. Just be aware that it is basic and can get a little repetitive, and kind of frustrating running through those areas a second time when it looks the same and things of that nature. But otherwise, you know, I'm your working gamer. I enjoyed it. It's fun enough for me. So I hope y'all, you know, if you played this game, I hope y'all enjoyed it, you know, because I enjoyed it. As more basic, I mean, I do enjoy basic and straightforward, but this was, I think, a little too basic and straightforward in some instances. You know, stats are what they are, right? You know, so stats are always going to be stats and stuff like that. No skills to really worry about. So, again, super straightforward video, super straightforward builds, straightforward game. I think this is a good introductory game into Souls-likes. If you want to get your feet wet, that's what I would say this game is really good for. To get your feet wet and just to give you a little intro, right? Because the difficulty is not there by any means. This game is not a difficult game. I bonked our way through this game. This game is easier than Liza P. And not to critique Liza P. Shout out Liza P. Liza P is great. Liza P was a little bit on the easier side, especially with the strength build. And this game was super easy. I mean, we died maybe once or twice to all the bosses. And I don't mean every time I encountered a boss. I mean in general. I only died like once or twice to a boss. In general, out of all the bosses, including the DLC. So, just again, I'm your basic gamer. I'm no A+. I'm no A+ gamer. So, the difficulty for the price and everything, I think you're gonna get your money's worth. I think you're gonna have fun with this game. I think it's a good, solid step into Souls-likes, just to get your feet wet. So, with that being said, I'm your working gamer. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.